Can a China tyre actually beat Michelin? In this video, we are pitting the Michelin Pilot Sport 5 against the Sailun Atrezzo ZSR2, which is known for its golden liquid technology, stating that it has solved the target conflict. We put them in a series of wet, dry, noise, and rolling resistance to find out whether actually is it worth buying China tyres? Wet braking, the most safety critical test, because the problem is a small difference here have huge consequences. In this test, we are testing the wet braking distance from 80 km/h down to 0, and the scoring is simple. The shorter your wet braking distances, the better your tyre is. And this translates into real-life wet confidence and those extra meters that can prevent you from having an accident.
Let's start with wet braking, because this is one of the most important safety tests. From 80 km down to 0, the Michelin Pilot Sport 5 stops in 28.3 meters. The Sailun Atrezzo ZSR2 stops in 30.1 meters. That means Sailun needs 1.8 meters more to stop. In percentage terms, Sailun is around 6% behind Michelin. And this matters, because wet braking is the first place I expect a tyre technology to claim to prove itself. Sailun talks about improving the conflict between wet grip and efficiency, but in pure wet stopping distance, Michelin is still clearly better. Next up is wet handling. The Michelin scores 7.2 out of 10, while Sailun scores subjectively 6.7 out of 10. So Sailun is 0.5 points behind, or around 5% lower. That tells me that Michelin gives the driver more confidence, more steering precision, and better control in the rain. But lap time is much closer. Michelin completes the wet handling lap in 30.4 seconds. Sailun does it in 30.8 seconds. That is an 0.4 seconds slower. So the Sailun is not weak here. It has decent wet grip, but it does not feel as polished or as confidence-inspiring as the Michelin. This is where the liquid gold story becomes mixed. Sailun is close in wet lap time, but it does not beat Michelin in wet braking or subjective wet handling.
Aquaplaning, one of the most dangerous wet driving conditions that you ever face. Because the problem is, once you have it, you lose control instantaneously. So, in this aquaplaning test, we are measuring the speed at which your tyre loses control. The scoring is simple. The higher your speed, the better aquaplaning resistance you have. And why does it matter? Because higher aquaplaning resistance gives you more confidence in heavy rain, and you go through water puddles with certainty.
Now, this is where Sailun gets its first real win. In straight line aquaplaning, higher speed is better. The Michelin starts to aquaplane at 75.9 km/h, while the Sailun starts at 78.7 km/h. That means Sailun is 2.8 km/h better, or around 4% ahead. This is genuine strength. In heavy rain, standing water, and highway puddles, the Sailun clears water very well.
Dry braking, this is the baseline performance. Because the problem is, it's expected of every tyre to perform well in dry braking. And in this test, we are measuring the stopping distance from 100 km away down to 0, like this, here. And the scoring is simple. The shorter your braking distance, the better your tyre is. And why does it matter? Because a shorter stopping distance could be the difference between having an accident or avoiding one.
Now let's move on to dry roads. In dry braking, Michelin stops at 37.3 meters, while Sailun stops at 38.6 meters. That means Michelin stops 1.3 meters shorter. In percentage terms, Sailun is around 3% behind. Again, the gap is not huge, but Michelin still has the edge. Dry handling is where Michelin starts to show its premium DNA. Subjectively, Michelin scores 7.2 out of 10, while Sailun scores 6.8 out of 10. So Sailun is 0.4 points behind, but the bigger gap appears in lap time. Michelin completes the dry handling lap in 29.8 seconds, while Sailun takes 30.9 seconds. That's 1.1 seconds slower. And for handling, that's a meaningful difference. This tells me that Michelin has better steering response, better stability, and better control when pushed hard. The Sailun can perform well in normal driving, but once you increase speed, cornering load, and tyre temperature, Michelin starts to separate itself.
Comfort and noise is something every driver feels, but it's not measured properly because it depends on different surfaces. Today, we are measuring comfort and noise at two different surfaces. One is rough and one is smooth. To find out which one delivers the best comfort and noise tire. The scoring, very simple. The higher the score, the better the comfort and noise tire. And why does it matter? Because a comfortable tire actually lets you feel less fatigue, more comfortable ride, and a quieter cabin. Let's find out.
When it comes to comfort and noise, Michelin scores 7.2, while Sailun scores 7. That is only at 0.2 points behind. This is a good result for Sailun. In daily driving, many drivers may not feel a huge difference. Michelin is slightly more refined, but Sailun is close enough that comfort is not the main reason to reject it.
Rolling resistance, one of the most important factors when it comes to efficiency. But the problem is, you can't really see or feel rolling resistance. But there's a simple way to illustrate. We put two tires on the slope, both at equal conditions, and we let it roll down. So physics takes its role, so we're looking for the tire which can roll the furthest, which means it has the lower rolling resistance. The scoring is simple. And what does it mean? It means that a lower rolling resistance tire actually increase your battery mileage for your EV car, and most importantly, improve fuel savings.
Rolling resistance is where Sailun's liquid gold story finally shows up clearly. Michelin recorded a coefficient value of 8.5, while Sailun records a 7.8. That means Sailun is around 9% better in rolling resistance. This is the strongest results for Sailun in the whole comparison. And this is exactly the type of results Sailun wants people to notice. A China tire beating a premium Michelin in rolling resistance is nothing. It suggests that Sailun is no longer only competing on price. They are trying to compete with compound technology. But rolling resistance is only one side of the triangle. The full liquid gold claim is about wet grip, rolling resistance, and mileage. So now we need to look at the missing piece. Mileage. This is where the story changes. In the 2025 Auto Build Summer Test, the Michelin Pilot Sport 5 achieved an estimated mileage of 52,170 km, while the Sailun Atrezzo ZSR2 only achieved 25,500 km. That means Sailun delivers only around 49% of Michelin's mileage. Or to put it more directly, Michelin lasts about 26,670 km longer. That is a massive difference. And this is the biggest problem for Sailun's liquid gold story in this test. Because if the technology is supposed to solve the target conflict between wet grip, rolling resistance, and mileage, then mileage should not collapse like this. Yes, Sailun wins in rolling resistance. Yes, Sailun wins in aquaplaning. But in mileage, Michelin is in a completely different league. So from an engineering point of view, I would say Sailun has solved part of the triangle, but definitely not the full triangle in this test. So what's the conclusion? From my point of view as a tyre engineer, the Michelin Pilot Sport 5 is still the better tyre overall. It wins in wet braking, wet handling feel, dry braking, dry handling, comfort, and mostly important, mileage. The mileage result is huge. Michelin delivers up to 52,000 kilometers, while Sailun only delivers around 25,500 kilometers. That means Sailun gives you only half the expected mileage of the Michelin. So even if the Sailun is cheaper to buy, the long-term value becomes much more complicated. But I also do not want to dismiss Sailun completely. The Atrezzo ZSRT is not an old-school cheap China tire. It beats Michelin in aquaplaning, it beats Michelin in rolling resistance, and that rolling resistance results give some support to Sailun's liquid gold technology story. But the full promise is not clearly proven here.
Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.